That is not the issue that we're talking. Time is not of the essence, but you have to make realistic promises. And the Prime Minister also went on to say, Pathikrit, that all the plastic that has accumulated in our country can be disposed of before Diwali. Is that really possible?
Actually, I think there is a ban coming on single-use plastic.
That's not the only plastic that you count when you speak of plastic.
Second is there is some kind of
dashboards, there are other types of plastics, there are syringes.
So there are. I think I'm not aware of it. So there is something being done in terms of converting plastic into some kind of a fuel. There is this process being experimented upon. But I'll tell you 2-3 trade-offs. Look, you talk about thermal energy. You have to set targets even if you miss by 5 years, but you at least set a target. Thermal energy, 65% of India's energy generation is through coal. You suddenly do away with that, you would have power outages, you would have chaos, you would have almost on the verge of a civil war. So you have to manage the society and at the same time bring changes. Secondly, when you talk about, say, wetland, I agree with Mr. Arya. On the wetland, perhaps I think one of the easiest thing to do in terms of bringing a notification, there are a lot of wetlands which I agree should be saved. Third is when you talk about hydro to replace coal or something like that. See, there are tectonic regions in this country where you put up the hydro plant, there are issues. Secondly, when you talk about hydro, we have seen what happened with Narendra. In that case, a lot of environmentalists were not happy because it actually led to inundation of a lot of places. The last and the most important thing I would say is that, so the federal structure, sometimes it creates a lot of impediment. The center comes out with something, one particular state says, I would not agree to that. For example, in terms of crop burning, the Haryana and Punjab government are not agreeing to it because it's far more expensive for the farmer to clear the land rather than burning it. So there are challenges. I mean, you see, any government which comes in with a legacy of a lot of burden. It's not that they have created it, but they have to manage it. So for a country with 1.3 billion, as Mr. Sri Iyer said, we have to give time, but at least one thing I admit, and of course, Vinit, something has been done on diesel also. The diesel vehicles beyond 10 years. So these are small but very necessary steps. Every time a metro is created, you actually reduce the use of vehicles. But for somebody who is leading a country with 1.3 billion people with almost 24/7 pressure to have high growth rate, at least that the government is also thinking on environmental lines. I think that is a strong step in the right direction.
Something about diesel has been done, but has the implementation been effective? That is the question.
Yes, I think
you can introduce laws, they can be policies, but are they being implemented?
Well,
take for example the Motor Vehicles Act. How do we know that it is being implemented to the hilt?
No, that doesn't mean that you should not have a law.
That is
thing. But again, motor vehicles.
Who's going to follow up whether the implementation is foolproof or not?
Diesel vehicles are beyond 10 years. You just can't keep it. But of course, some people are trying to find out some alternate routes.
But it would be naive to believe that nobody is doing that.
I agree. Again, it would be naive to think that it is not working at all. So these are for a 1.3 billion people in this country, you would at least have 10% not following, and that is like 130 crore people, 130 million people. So there are challenges that the government comes up with. I think I am equally critical.
We have a paucity of time. Let me get a quick